whole career, but because he was such a freak, we remember him above a lot of other guys that had much better careers and were
He had a
just
partner
as
in
good.
Marcus Allen that gets lost in translation there. Marcus Allen was one of the best running backs to ever touch the ball in top 10. If you count down top 10, Marcus Allen's there. Marcus Allen was that good. And the fact that people remember Bo just because of his athleticism more than Marcus Allen, what he did for the Raiders, still bothers me.
Yeah.
I had to say it.
Okay. Anything else on the
Anyways,
news, Dave, so we can give Dillon his time because he is so waiting patiently and he hardly says a peep.
One more thing, another Cowboys note just to make Dillon happy. I have to say this, and I know it's going to make him happy. Des Bryant has no interest in playing football right now. Now I know it's going to be a better 2019 season because Des Bryant's not going to be there. I'm a happy man.
Oh, come on now.
What do you mean, oh, come on? I want to hear you're an Eagles fan. You shush.
Hey, you got to respect talent when you see it. Des Bryant, in his prime, was a very talented receiver. I'm glad he's not
prime 3 years.
Anymore.
That's it.
I'm glad he's enjoying his time off, and as far as I'm concerned, he can go hang out in Cabo with Zeke.
Hashtag Des didn't catch it.
Wow.
By the letter of the law, it was not a catch. I don't know how more people needs to be explained. I hated the rule. The rule was stupid. I was glad to see it go. I hated every time that we had to go and even make the argument. But people, like at the end of
the ball
day,
hits the ground, it comes loose. It's an incomplete pass.
He moved the ball from one hand to the other, and then it moved when he had to try to have control. He was reached out. It popped completely out of his hands when he was crossing the goal line, and then he had to regain. I mean, so by the way the rules were written then, it was clearly not a catch. It does not mean that the rule wasn't stupid in the first place and should have never been there.
It was just the rule.
It just was what it was, and I mean, and it has nothing to do with me being a Packer fan, because there was a lot of games I watched that I just couldn't believe that they put their players through that crap. It was a dumb rule, but it wasn't a catch.
This is very interesting. I heard this from the Packers fan perspective before. This is pretty fun to hear.
It's just when you go watch the replay, he clearly still going to the ground after catching it. That's the thing. He never was running with it. It was still falling. When you fall after the catch, it's a process. So during those rules, when he's falling, hits the ground, the ball comes out, and that's an incomplete pass. It's the process of falling down to the ground. But that was before the most recent change.
Tripped over the DB for Green Bay, fell to the ground, and the ball came out.
He was falling when he caught it. That was the problem. He already started the falling process.
What people don't do when they run the GIFs is they don't run the whole play. And so the very part of that, it goes up, and because of the way Sam Shields was positioned there, and he had inside leverage with his inside hand in between Dez's hands. So Dez went to high point the ball. He was off of both his feet when he had two hands of the ball. As he's coming down, he notices that hand is there, and Sam is trying to punch it from the inside. So he moves it from right hand to left hand in midair as his one foot's coming down. That's a movement. He's also left-handed. He has now never established 2 feet and a football move as it's described, because he's now, as he goes to goal, he says he's leaping, but you don't, when you're leaping, you don't have your arm crouched the way it is. He was never fully extended as he was saying it was. You can watch the whole thing over. He was falling, and he was using that arm to try to brace himself because the other one was in a hand battle with Sam Shields. The ball pops up as he hits the ground, as it's hitting the goal line. He rolls over. The ball is not in either one of his hands. It's in the air. He's on his back. He reestablishes it past the goal line in both hands, and they go back and say it's a no catch because he never completes the process of the catch as it was written, because he never was on his feet to begin with when he was catching the ball. And people, they want to just, they don't want to remember the whole play. At the end of the day, though, it's still a stupid rule, and it should have never been there. And it changed playoff games, and it changed regular season games, it changed playoff seeding. It was stupid. But, like, it's time to let it go that it was some outrageous call against the rules in Packer favor, and people that disagree that it was a catch are homers because we're Packer fans. Just go actually watch it and quit being biased. Just think about how stupid the whole idea of the rule is, and then watch the whole damn play and tell me that I just didn't tell you the truth of what just happened with it. Period.
Holy cow. Are you going to law school, man? Because that was a great defense.
Dusty Evely would be proud. I just sat back and I had a beer listening to that. I'm a little worked up hearing about that. Jay, I'm hiring you for my any law problem that happens. You should probably call Zeke, and you could probably get him as a lawyer right now.
Hit him up.
What? I just blacked out. What happened?
Well, anyways, moving on. After talking about that, I had to get Jay riled up because I knew it'd do it. But I got to mention something that actually caught my attention in Packers training camp today. So we all know Bakhtiari for the Packers is touted as the best left tackle or the best pass blocking left tackle, and he's voted pretty highly. Oh God, I want his beard. I love his beard. I love his hair. I want to be David Bakhtiari. But nonetheless, we all know how good he is. Zadarius Smith, the free agent pickup, beat him twice in camp today on one-on-ones. And then Rashawn Gary, our number one draft pick, beat David Bakhtiari. For him to get beat 3 times in one day, let alone in the whole camp, is a big deal. Not meaning he's digressing, it's meaning the fact that we're getting more talent on the defensive side of the ball. Because you never saw Matthews beat Bakhtiari. You never seen Perry do it. Exactly. And I can't wait for it.
What I say about a take like that is that there are certain drills in training camp that favor one position over the other, such as wide receiver versus DB. Oftentimes the wide receiver looks great because the DB during a real game has help, there's other bodies on the field, etc. So the wide receiver gets wide open. Same with these drills. Bakhtiari got beat because in a normal game he would either have a double team with him, or the defender would trying not to be tripping over someone else. So I'll give Bakhtiari a break on this one because I think those drills oftentimes favor the defensive lineman.
Well, actually, I'll counter argument there where you just said DB and wide receiver. Get this, Matt LaFleur is showing the strong hand of the Packers. He went ahead today and took the whole first-team offense off the field because Devontae Adams looked like he was about to have a clear touchdown, and it's a drill that favors the wide receiver, yes, but Jair Alexander, yes, our second-year player who was looking like a stud last year, came and swiped the ball from Devontae Adams' hands, and we all know how strong Adams' hands have gotten since his bad year. So the fact that Alexander was playing the ball and not the receiver shows the type of DB he is, and it counters your argument, good sir. Packers got some defensive talent, and you can't say nothing about it.
And I will say this,
I can.
Dillon,
I don't think that.
I will say this, Dillon, quickly. We were told by a lot of smart people that if your defense isn't showing out your offense when your offense is learning a brand new offensive system and your defense isn't learning a brand new system, right now the defense should be whooping up on the offense, because if it's not, that's a huge concern. So this is exactly what we were told we should expect to see at this point, because the defense is in year 2, a lot of these guys, especially the rookies, because they play a lot in Green Bay. Whereas this offense, even the veterans, especially Aaron Rodgers, as smart he is learning new plays, new formations, new lingo, new checks, all that stuff. Defense should be kicking the crap out of offenses right now. If it's not, it's a bad sign. This is what we should be seeing in Green Bay, period.
Well, that's a good point. I'll just say to D that I think that Jair Alexander play is the exception and not the rule, because that's a good one. No, that's what you're looking for in a DB. That's why you draft a guy in the first round, because he has quick feet, because he recognizes routes. But more often than not, you see the wide receiver win in those battles because of the way they set up.
Thank you for giving me the exception. I appreciate it. And well, you know what? I'm sick of news. I think we got a big fantasy segment and I think Dillon has a special something.
That's right, I do.
There's Fantasy Files.
I need to win this year. That guy right
Yeah, that's what it's called.
The players are out there.
What do you got for us this week, Special Agent Busby in Fantasy Files?
Well, in the Fantasy Files, we're going to do something a little special for our first and goalers. We're going to do a 3-man mock draft using NFC North players only. So each of us 3 is going to get a single quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense. It's going to be PPR rules, so your players are going to get points per reception. And it's just going to be the 3 of us. So we're going to go snake draft, Davis first, I'm second, Jay, you're third. So it's going to get double picks for you. But before we start that, I do want to dig into a few little notes because there is so much going on the first week of training camp that is pertinent to fantasy news. So on the first one, I got to give a shout-out to @PFG because their boy Andrew Luck, there seems to be some concern with his quote-unquote calf strain. From what I read, he's been feeling a lot of pain the last few practices. They haven't improved, and they're not taking the next step in the recovery, according to coaches, as far as Andrew Luck goes. So he's been sitting out practices. I don't think it's anything that's going to necessarily keep him out week 1, but just something to keep your eye on. If Luck has to miss time, obviously that affects everyone on the Colts. As far as AJ Green goes, he underwent some sort of ankle procedure to have a clearing out or whatever they do. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what goes on with those ligaments and ankle stuff. But according to head coach Zach Taylor himself, there's a good chance that AJ Green misses a couple of regular season games. So for you dynasty owners, for you keeper owners of AJ Green, bad news for you. For the owners of Tyler Boyd, it obviously raises the stock of Boyd, who did perform pretty well in games without AJ Green last year. Performed well in games with AJ Green. So either way, Tyler Boyd's someone to keep your eye on. I bet his average draft position, or ADP as it's called in the biz, is going to rise between now and when people really start to get drafting after preseason week 3. So keep your eyes on Tyler Boyd for you dynasty owners of him. Another lucky year for you. AJ's out of the picture. Guys like John Ross, I don't know. How do you guys feel about a John Ross at this point?
Receivers tend to show out year 3 and 4, first 2 years for most wide receivers that aren't your like OBJ types. Devontae Adams, it took him 3 years before he really developed into a consistent threat all over the field. He had showed flashes in years before that bad year in year 1 and 2, but year 4 and on has been where he's really shown up. So those are the players I think that in a PPR league I'm learning, where those are the underrated players I think you can look for in the receivers, is your 3rd year, 4th year receivers in that era coming up for contracts and such that maybe haven't made noise but are in a good system with a pretty good quarterback.
I like it.
I think Ross, I don't know. I mean, I get he's a speedster, but man, I've seen him drop some pretty easy passes, and I know that's what Tay went through, but he's also a different type of receiver than Tay. I don't know. Eifert's healthy, but as long as we keep mentioning his name, it's like the more he gets injured. So, I mean, I guess all really I have to go on is obviously Tyler Boyd. I just don't think Ross cut it.
Yeah, Eifert's a guy who's interesting to me. I think he's going to get a lot more looks in the red zone with AJ Green out. So definitely someone to target later in the round because most people don't want to take a chance on Tyler Eifert at this point. As far as Ross goes, I think you guys are right. But at the same time, Zach Taylor coming in, bringing in a new offensive style, maybe he's got more gadget plays and ways to get Ross the ball in space. So I don't know. He's definitely not on my radar. I'm not going to be drafting him at all this year, but if whoever's out there wants to take a chance in the very last round, I don't blame you. With a guy who still holds the record, as far as I know,